Page 48, 4 lines from the top of the page. Kunzres hatzfekot, which means we dealt yesterday with uncertainty, meaning we have a dilemma, we have a predicament, and there are several options, and we presented a situation that left us with teiku, which means we need to wait for the tishbi to reconcile those questions. Some of those questions, according to Rabbi Akiva Iger, are even sometimes sfek-sfeika, which means we have a dilemma, we have a predicament, and those involved with study of logic, they know that it can be a uncertainty or question, dilemma within dilemma. So in other words, like the Havdil Robert Frost said, if you take an intersection and you choose one direction, then you enter the domain of another intersection that leads you to another dilemma. So since we talk about the service of Yom Kippurim, and we talk about the Kohen Gadol while using a special vessel, we ask several questions yesterday, and we continue with those questions. Many of them we solve as an answer question. Ambai Mar Barav Ashi, 4 lines from the top of the page. Apche lemana v'dabke lakometz be'ar itei derana mau. The Kohen took the vessel, turned around, and he stick the their side of the vessel to a handful of that. He took the underside of the vessel and he stick whatever left in that back of that vessel. So we talk about sanctity. We ask a question in regards to offering. Shall we ask him to take that part and put it on the altar because it's already sanctified or not? What's the issue? Now we brings the predicament. We elaborate on that. It said hanacha betocho ba'inan v'ha'ika. You ask him to put it inside the vessel. It happens. Why? Because it's in a part of the vessel. Or dilma hanacha ketikno ba'inan v'leika. Or you said that we require to do a place properly in the vessel, and that's not in a situation that we have here. Why? Because he put it outside of the vessel. So therefore that part, it's not sanctified. Teiko. What is teiko?
Let it stand, let it be.
Let it stand. Tishbi etaretz kushiyot veibayot, which means we have unsolved question. That's one of the beauty in the study of Talmud. You have sometimes problems that left open. By Rav Papa.
They need to leave something for the future generations to solve.
The truth is that there is a Shita Mekubetzet in Menachot that said that have some answer to that. Anyway, by Rav Papa, Meloch ofnav she'amru mechukot o gdushot. He said, since the handful to which the sages refer be smoothed over or slightly overflowing, meaning when he takes it, the Torah tells us that, and we referred in page 47b, we said that he takes that comets, that part he carries in his hand, and he need to erase any part, so it will be clear that nothing come out of his hand. So he asked, does this, we learn from what we learned yesterday, the juxtaposition of the word melo, that has to be the exact, meaning the Kohen should put his hand and pull it out in a normal manner like everyone else, like regular person, or he meant to say that he has to go in a certain way. You remember yesterday we discussed, and Tosfot Harosh said it, we need to have a special vessel that gives the clear measurement of the chafina, and therefore the Kohen match it of what he have in his hand or not. So he said, Amar Rabbi Abba Rav Ashi, Tashma. In order to answer that, let's see another braita. מלוא חופניו שאמרו לא מחוקות ולא קדושות אלא תפופות. He said that when we speak about the smooth over hand, it has to be not overflowing but full without any flour spilling out, which means it has to be in a way that the incense will be clear. If you look at his hands, you can see it. That's Rashi said, and Tosfot Harosh said that that's the manners average person does chafina. Now, for the next sugya, we need to give some introduction, which is Gemarrah in Zvachim, in Tractate Zvachim. The Tractate Zvachim, if you remember when we have the privilege to study, dealing with the process of offering, and we also study it in doing the study of Tractate Psachim, when we talk about Paschal Lamb. There are 4 stages need to take place while they're bringing the offering in a Beit HaMikdash. Number 1, we have to have, which we call Shchitat HaZevach, meaning we have to slaughter the animal. Those who study Shchita or study Tractate Chulil, they know that there are 4 different stages take place. Number 1, when you cut. So if someone, God forbid, have some cut, you see that the blood coming out, but it's not reaching the vein in the or the vein vessels. So that's called a general slaughtering. It's just the first process. The second one is when the blood coming out, you take a vessel and you put it, meaning kli shacher, a vessel that used to sanctify it matter for the Beit HaMikdash, and you collected the blood within that vessel. That's process number 2. Number 3, you carry that blood to the altar, and number 4, you take that blood, meaning the Kohen, and sprinkle it on the altar. Now, since we have this 4 part, we have to know another word of introduction before we go further, that in the 4 part, as far as the shchita is concerned, we have the chaticha, which we said that just the blood coming out. We have the second one that's called in the language of the Torah, dam hanefesh. Dam hanefesh meaning the first pouring of blood that coming out of the shchita, that basically connected to the, for the best term, the soul of the animal. The next one is called damat tamtzit, which means there's a blood that coming out as a consequence of the shchita, but it's not the quote-unquote original blood that come from the vessel. It's just because it's pouring, it's coming out from all different directions. And basically, as far as the Hilchot Zvachim is concerned, that blood is not befitting for that purpose. So, and then we have the last part, which is the completion of Shchita. So we learn in Tractate Zvachim, page 25, the Gemarrah said, Nishpach hadam al haritzpah. Imagine a situation, the Kohen, after they slaughter the offering, somehow the blood coming out, instead of being accepted to the vessel, it comes out to the floor of the Beit HaMikdash. Ve'asafo pasul. So what did the Kohen do? He went, bow down the floor, pick up the blood, put it in the vessel, and then he want to sprinkle it on the altar. So the Gemara said that make it an invalid. Why? Since part of the requirement has to be a Kohen using a vessel, kli sharet, a special sanctified vessel for the Beit HaMikdash, and is a part of the clear requirement we derive from the biblical text. So therefore, he cannot use it. So if even the blood's coming out of the animal, that it's not dam hanefesh, there are those who say that he can collect it in that vessel and use it for other purposes, and still that offering will be valid. It's a famous Rambam, Hilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 1, halacha 26. But yet, here, since it's fall on the ground, it carries a different halachic status. However, we learn in the different Mishnah, again, Tractate Vachim, page 32, if after slaughtering that animal, the blood receive the Kohen take the blood within the vessel, and then mina kli ala ritzpa v'asafo. Now we are in a different situation. It's already been in the vessel, but then for some reason he trembled or something happened, he tripped or whatever it is, and the blood fell on the ground, and the Kohen went and he picked it up from the ground. So now it's a different status. In other words, the blood come out properly to that vessel, but did not complete the process. So that Mishnah said you can use it to sprinkle on the altar, and it's kasher, it's okay. So meaning the moment the blood was accepted in that vessel, in other words, when it's come out of the neck of the animal, since they slaughtered the animal in the neck, so the blood come out from the neck of the animal directly to that vessel, it's already befitting to use on the altar. Even later on during the process, it's spilled, but it still carry that level of kashrut. So as a side note, the Shita Mekubetzet over there in Zvachim, in Menachot, also explains that b'diavad, that's only after the fact. Source, Menahal Mili. How do you know that what we said, that you have to have the blood coming in this process? How do you know that the Torah requires us to go strictly to that process? Again, what's the process? The neck of the animal, the slaughter, and the blood coming out from there directly to the vessel. The Tanu Rabbanan, the Torah said in regards to the Par Kohen HaMashiach, which is a book of Vayikra, Leviticus chapter 4, the Torah said, Velakach HaKohen HaMashiach midam hapar. So it means the Kohen would not need to take from the blood of the ox. So the source for that, if someone unwittingly and unintentionally violated a prohibition, biblical prohibition, that if it was intentional, it deserved karet, that soul shall be cut off. So he needs, because it was unintentional, he needs to bring a sin offering to atone for that. Other people needs to bring for sin either goat, etc., or kisbah. The Kohen HaMashiach, which is in that context applied to the Kohen Gadol, he needs to bring a sin offering only when he ruled for himself wrongly. So in other words, he made a rule for himself, and that rule was not the correct halachic rule, so he needs to bring for himself a sin offering. That's the way the Rambam explained to us in Hilchot Shgagot, chapter 15. So what do we derive from that? Since the Torah used the term velakach, he should take. So we said it means that he received what? In the kli sharet, in the special sanctified vessel. And it's like the Torah meant to say that the Kohen vekibel ha-Kohen ha-Mashiach bakli, that the Kohen Mashiach received it in a vessel, midam apar. That's the way we understand the text. So we derive from that midam ha-nefesh velo midam ha-or. We derive from that the Kohen shall take from the blood of the soul, which means the bull's blood that flows from the place of slaughter as the animal dies.
The translator here is lifeblood.
Lifeblood,
thank
you very much. And not from the blood of the skin,
right,
which bleeds out when the skin is cut before the slaughter, as we explained earlier. So that has to be clear. And furthermore, velo midam hatamtzit. If you remember that we talk about blood that is not in use, which is blood that's squeezed from the animal after the initial spark, so that blood should not be taken. We derive from the word blood in the Torah, like the Torah used the term dam ha'adam. So whenever, or dam ha'tzipor ha'shchuta, so it applies to specific creature. So dam hanefesh tluya bo, the blood of that the soul depend upon that blood. In that sense, we differentiate between blood of quote unquote living creature that makes the creature alive or not, versus other side blood that not connected directly to the soul of the animal. So meaning here, when you use the term blood of the bull, it means the blood of the nefesh. That's the Malbim explained to us in Vayikra chapter 4 pasuk 5. Midam hapal, dam hapal yekablenu. So we interpret the phrase from the blood of the bull as though that these words were written in different order. Blood from the bull, which means the Kohen shall receive directly. And we said it's like you're taking the letter mem from the word midam, and you derive it to the word hapa. So we say that the Kohen takes it with this special vessel directly from the neck of the bull, without any intermediary, without any interpretation in the process. The is-salka da'atach, that if you come to conclusion, midam hapar, midam va'afilu miktzat dam, because if you use the word mem, miktzat hadam, meaning midam hapar, midam va'afilu miktzat hadam, so mem in that context, meaning from, which means from the blood of the bull, is limiting and indicated that even if the Kohen receives some of the blood, his action is acceptable. Now, the problem is, V'amar Rav Yehuda tells us that the Kohen ha-mekabel, who received the blood in that vessel, so we said tzarich sheyekabel et kol damo shel hapar, which means all the live blood. He needs to receive the entire blood. Now, with that said, sheneemar, the source, ve'et kol dam hapar yishpoch el yesod mizbach ha'olah. The Torah used the word all, and all the blood of the bull he shall pour out on the base of the altar. So because we use that term, what we want to emphasize, that the Kohen must pour all the bull's blood which is possible only if he collected it all of it. Ela shma mina. So it means that not part, but full. So you have to understand, my midam apar, what did the Torah mean from the blood of the bull? Dam mehapar yekablenu. That the Kohen must receive the blood directly from the bull. Vekasavar, and the sages maintain, the Tana in the Braita maintain, go'in umosifin vedorshin. He said that we subtract and add and interpreted the text homiatically, which means one may take a letter from one word, insert it into a second word, and explain a phrase that in that manner. For example, the Torah used the word, let's say, lamed and hey, or lamed and mem, sometimes, and you switch the word from the end of the letter from the end of the word to the beginning of the word, and you Vayetze Yaakov mi Be'er Shava, Jacob left Beersheba, Vayelech Harana, and he went to the city of Haran. So you take the letter Hey from the word Harana, and you switch it to Lamed at the beginning of the letter, and now it means Lecharan. Rashi said, Harana Lecharan. He went to Haran. So here again we switch letters in order to explain the concept. It's like the Torah said, "Velakach haKohen haMashiach midam apar." Now, after all of this introduction, now we go back to the question of Hafina, which means the handsful of the Ktoret. What's the issue? Do we hold the incense the same manner as the Shchita, or not? Do we ask that should be have a vessel, or the hands, the same idea that we have here? So by Rav Papa, מתפזר הקטורת ממלוך אופניו. What happened is the Kohen takes this incense, and all of a sudden his handsful scattered all over the floor. Mahu. Is the Kohen allowed to pick up the incense from the floor or not? So again, let's think together. What we try to juxtapose here? We try to juxtapose the law we explained earlier in regard to blood in the animals to the law in regards to incense. If it fell on the floor, do we treat it the same way? Now we elaborate on this dilemma. Do we say yado ketzavar behema ufsula? Do we say that the Kohen hands, it's considering the same as the neck of the animal, and therefore the incense is disqualified? Why? The same way as we said that if blood fell on the floor directly from the animal, it's disqualified for offering, right, for sprinkling. The same way we say that since he fell on the floor from his hand, you treat it the same way, or dilma, or let's go the other way around. Kichli sharet name. His hand is considered in that manner like a vessel used in the Beit HaMikdash in a temple service. It's a sanctified vessel. Velo psula. And if the incense fell out of his hand, is not disqualified. So he said, in other words, what you're allowed to do in this case, you're now allowed to ask him to go and pick up from the floor and take it. So we should know that when it's come to offering of mincha, it's involved with 4 types of work. One, it's called the sanctified that handful part in a special vessel. The second one is they carry that, and then we have the putting the offer on the altar. So you have the kmitzah, taking the kmitzah in the vessel, carry it, and then putting the incense on the altar. So that's in a way compare or even match the same as zevach, as offering, which is number one, shchita, is slaughtering, number two, receiving the blood, number three, carries the blood, and number four, sprinkle the blood on the altar. So you see here, there's a lot of mechanism between the two, and therefore that's bring us to a question: do we treat it the same way? That's based on Gemarrah in Menachot, page 13. So we try to say, in general, that when it's come to chafina, to collect that incense, it's a little different. Why? Because the Kohen Gadol has to put the incense inside the vessel, not because he sanctified the incense by doing so, but because he, as we explained day before yesterday, cannot enter the Holy of Holies while he carries in his hand, and this way he needs to use that special vessel. So the dilemma is, if this incense fall on the floor, what do? Do you say that he allowed to pick it up and use it or not? And the Gemara left it in Teiko. So in Metz Hashem, when the Beit HaMikdash will rebuild, Tishbi will reconcile. Teiko is abbreviation. Tishbi yetaretz, he reconcile kushiyot v'ibayot. These type of problems, questions. By Rav Papa, as I told you at the beginning, today's session, it's all filled of dilemma. It's all questions of things that they uncertain. Chishev bechafinat ktoret. We can for sure derive a lot of things from that, but the dilemma is the dilemma. As we all know, there is a concept of pigul. I'm sure that you remember for all of our sessions in the past that the Kohen has to have his mindset for what he's doing. In other words, he needs to do it for the purpose. If you remember, we have a sofer here recently, and the sofer, when he fixed the Sefer Torah, the Tfilin, the Mezuzot, whatever, he always said Leshem Kedusha, Leshem Kedushat Tfilin, Leshem Kedusha. So in other words, he needs to have his zooming in his mindset with the mitzvah. He needs to declare that it's for that mitzvah. He needs to focus on that mitzvah. Now, the Kohen Gadol, when he pick up this incense and carry it, so he thought at that very moment that he's going to do it the following day. So we ask a question, Mahu. Do we say that since his mindset was not for that very moment, do we say that the same way as other offering, like offering of zevach, offering of mincha, good morning, that he thought about the following day, that make it pasul, that make it invalid. In other words, the Kohen has to have his mindset totally focused on what he's doing. Otherwise, if you think about the following day, it make it invalid. And again, for you just walk in, so the point is the Kohen, when he brings the offering, he needs to have his thought totally focused on that specific offering. And therefore, if he planning to eat it or bring it as a incense on the altar, he needs to remember that if it wasn't totally for that purpose, if you intend to have other things or partially, so that make it invalid. In that sense, it's not only the Kohen, it's even Israel. If there are certain things that he can do, like slaughtering, so if Israel does that, it's the same manner. So that's make it invalid. So here Rav Papa asks, do we hold the same rules when it's come to the incense? Do we said that the thought of the Kohen Gadol, while he is pulling out this handful for the offering for the following day, which is Yom Kippur, if that happened after the time the Torah designated it, is that make it disqualified, invalid. In other words, if you intend to do it in a different location, different time, that's make it invalid. Tosfot add to those questions, and he said, question even while he carries it to the Holy of Holies, if you have a different mindset, or while he is putting the coal and incense on the coal, if you have a different mindset. So you see how careful we are with even his thoughts. And little history, as you remember, we discussed it, that in the history of second Beit HaMikdash, there are many issues with Kohanim that just appointed Kohanim Gdolim, but not people who really, in a way, deserve that special holy task. So what we said, Mi amrinan yalif melo mi mincha. Do we say that this halakha is derived by mean of verbal analogy, since the Torah used the word handful and handful from the case of meal offering? So we said mahatam mehanya ba machshava, just as there with regard to the meal offering, thought is effective, and therefore if it's have a wrong thought, invalidate the offering, and here it's invalidate the incense. So we said too here in regard to taking handful of incense, thought is affected to invalidated it. Hachana memehania b'machshava, or lo, or you said forget it. Thought you cannot compare to the thought in the incense, in the ketoret, to the thought of mincha offering. So Amar Rav Shimi Barashi le Rav Papa. So we now elaborate on that dilemma, and he said, Tashma. Let's go by what we learn in the Tractate Eduyot, page 8. Hosif Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva add הסולת והקטורת והלבונה והגחלים שאם נגע גבול יום במקצתם פסל את כולם. So he said, a handful of fine flour and incense and frankincense and the coals that are collected in a vessel. So the ruling of the sages, that is, if one who immersed himself doing the day touch part of them, he disqualified all of them. So all of them meaning, so we have a certain decorum, certain respect to each and every objects that held. So these objects are treated as one solid unit. So even there are different parts, kasal kadatach, you may come to you mind, mi de pasal tvul yom, psala name lina. So since one immerses himself during the day, disqualifies this item by touch, therefore leaving them after their permitted time, the same way disqualify them. So basically the idea of lina, meaning if it's past the time of the night, so that's basically change the status. Delina psala, which means before, in reality, they leaving it over the time, it's disqualify them. So therefore, psala nami machshava, thought likewise disqualify them. So what we understand as a result, an incense is similar to flour with regard to tum'ah, to ritual impurity. It is also disqualify them if the Kohen has improper thought. So the big question is, again, Rav Papa asks, do we derive this verbal analogy, do we derive this juxtaposition between the incense and the offering of mincha? Another question of Rav Papa, by Rav Papa, 48b, Chishev bechatiyat gechalim mahu. Some ordered introduction. When the Kohen put the coal, the burning coal on the altar, so he basically make which called hechsher mitzvah. Hechsher mitzvah meaning he paved the way to fulfill the mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? For example, in our case, you take the incense, you put them on the top of the burning coal, and that created the incense. That's the last stage. So putting the coal on the altar, you're paving the way, you're preparing, the Kohen Gadol preparing for that mitzvah. Now, he does that on Yom Kippur, the Holy of Holies. Now, if he has a different thought at that time, which means he thought to do it in a different time, or you have other thoughts, so we basically said in that instance, it's not one of those things that make it disqualified. Chishev bishat chatiyat gechalim ma'u. So if the Kohen have a thought while he racking the coals, so that thought invalidates or not, that's this thought invalidates the incense. So we elaborate and said, machshirei mitzvah ke mitzvah damu or lo? Do we said that actions that facilitate the performance of mitzvah is considered like mitzvah itself? If so, racking the coals which facilitate the mitzvah of the incense is like burning the incense itself, and therefore an improper thought will disqualify the incense. Or you said no, the action that facilitate the performance of mitzvah are not considered part of the mitzvah itself. So you left it teiko. So even the Gemarrah did not reconcile this question. The Rambam in Hilchot Avodat Yom הכיפורים, chapter 5, he said that machshirei mitzvah ke mitzvah, that it's like it's all one thought. Preparation for mitzvah. I give you a simple example just for those who not fully grasp the point. Let's say today, let's say if it's Thursday, and you walk in the shul and you notice that the Sefer Torah, it's not in the right place. So you call another guy, you open the ark, and you roll the Torah the right location. Why are you doing that? Because you want to make sure that it will not have a tircha de tzibura. When people come and need to rush to work, etc., they don't need to wait several minutes for you to roll from the book of Deuteronomy to the book of Exodus. So that's just a small vignette, a small example that you paved the way for the mitzvah, you prepare the mitzvah. So back to our subject, the Rambam in Hilchot Avodat Yom הכיפורים, chapter 5 said that the preparation for the mitzvah it's part of the mitzvah, even it's not the mitzvah itself. So for example, putting the coals, the burning coals for the incense, even it's not the final stage of putting it and making it, the preparations, it's part of the mitzvah itself. As you know, in every profession, everything, there is a lot of preparations that are taking place before you really does the real final point. But Gemarrah itself, without this Rambam, left it with Teiko, which means that they stand unresolved. Now, the Gemarrah for a moment stopped all these questions of Rav Papa, and they brought another Amorah to ask a question. Bai minei merav sheshet, holacha bismol mahu. We know that the Kohen needs to use, we explained day before yesterday, he must use his right hand to carry the offering to the altar. So when he carries that vessel with the blood, he needs to be in the right hand. What happens if it happened, he carries the blood in his left hand? What's the question? Do you treat it as all the other work, like receiving, sprinkling, that they have to be in the right hand? Because again, as far as receiving, we all know that it must be on the right hand. We know that receiving and sprinkling is no compromise. But here, since the Torah did not speak about holacha, about carries, which hand he should use, by using one's left hand, that make it disqualified or not? Did you say that that's the same as the other two, or you treated it differently, since the Torah did not specify? Amar lehu Rav Sheshet. So Rav Sheshet responded and said, Teni tuha, we learned in the Mishnah, Natal et hamachta bimino ve'et hakaf bismolo. The Mishnah said he took the coal pan in his right hand and the spoon in his left hand. So this proves that although the spoon is carried in the left hand to the place of the service, the right is valid. So again, it's indirect source to say that it's after the fact, it's okay. So the Gemara asks, wait a second, Nifshot lehu mehadetnan. Why Rav Sheshet bring that source? We can go in something else that looks a better source, which is what? It's the text in the Tractate Talmud, page 31b, that said, הרגל של ימין בשמאל ובית אורה בחוץ. They said that the Kohen has the privilege to carry the head and the leg of the daily offering to the ramp, carry the right leg in his left hand with its entire hide facing outward and the place of the slaughter of the neck facing the Kohen.
Is it usually done with only one person, or can it be done?
If it's Yom Kippur, we said it's just the. But if it's a regular situation, there is a help. But it's the key Kohen that have the main work, wow. And is a clear instruction, because this Mishnah also proves that carrying with the left hand is acceptable after the fact. It's not lechatchila. We said earlier that that's what the Shita Mekubetzet understand. So the Gemara said, I mehatam, respond to that question. They said, wait, if Rav Sheshet bring a source, a proof to his point from that source in Tractate Talmud, hava mina, hane milei, I would have said that this apply only to a type of what? Holacha de lo me'akva kapara. So it's carrying does not invalidate atonement. So it's even if the limbs are not carried up to the altar, atonement is nevertheless achieved. How? Because it's sprinkled of the blood. So it means that the rite is valid, even the limbs of the daily offering are not burned at all. Aval, holacha dema'akva kapara lo kamashmelan. But you may think that carrying does not invalidate atonement, which means to carry the blood to the altar, so it must be done specifically with the right hand. So he said, Kamash Melan, it teaches us that even you take the incense in the left hand, or you carry it, the spoon is necessary for the Mishnah, and the right is nevertheless valid if it's carried on the left hand. So again and again and again, it's only by force of circumstance, and it's not the first priority. Rambam, Hilchot Avodat Yom Kippurim, chapter 4. A spoon and a vessel filled with a very fine incense is brought out to the Kohen Gadol. He scoops a handful of incense, which he places in a spoon. Next, he takes the coal pan in his right hand and the spoon in his left. Due to the weight of the coal pan and its heat, the Kohen Gadol is permitted to carry it in his right hand, although ideally he should carry the spoon in his right hand. And we explained it many times that the right in Judaism carries much more meaning. Next halacha, derech kmitza. That's Rambam Hilchot Maaseh Korbanot, chapter 13. The manner of taking the handful. So how is a handful of a meal offering taken? The priest extends his fingers over his palm and scoop out the flowers. In some Gemarrah you see the picture that you have the three hands that is scooped. We said it in the past that's the Gemarrah in Melachot in Zvachim, that they have a special training. Some of the Kohanim, there's a special way that they did it properly. Now, since the Torah speaks about the exact measure, what about Shirayim Shechasru? Rambam, Hilchot Psulei Mukdashim, chapter 1. Reminders that become reduced. In a case where the Kohen took a handful of a meal offering and the meal offering was subsequently lost, the handful is not burned. However, if some of the meal offering that was taken in the handful remains intact, the handful is burned. That's basically the way that we learn the point of Rabbi Yoshua. Kol shemimenu la'ishim. Rambam, Hilchot Isurei Mitzvah, chapter 5. If part of an item is burned on the altar, it is prohibited to burn any of the part not designated for burning. And the Kesef Mishneh elaborated and said that part of the designation is crucial, because without designation it already doesn't carry the sanctity, the same equal sanctity. Kamatz v'rashe etzbeotav. Rambam Hilchot Avodat Yom Kippurim, chapter 5. If a Kohen take a handful of a meal offering with his fingertips, or from the sides, it should not be burned lechatchila, but if it was burned, the offering is valid, as the dilemma so far unresolved. Chafan berashe etzbeotav. If the Kohen scooped a handful with his finger tips, if the Kohen Gadol takes a handful with his fingertips, or from the sides, or from downward to upward, or if he takes a handful with each hand separately and subsequently brings them together, the incense should not be burned lechatchila. But if it was burned, בדיעבד, after the fact, is valid, not לכתחילה. קומץ שלא כדרכו, רמב"ם, הלכות פסולי המוקדשים, chapter 1. The handful placed irregularly. If the handful of flour was stuck to the side of the vessel, or if the vessel was turned upside down when the Kohen took the handful, the flour should not be burned. But if it was burned, it is valid. Since the halacha of these situations was not conclusively determined, they should not be performed in this manner lechatchila, but are valid b'diavad, after the fact. Meloch ofnav, we said that the Kohen needs to take the handsful. So the Rambam Hilchot Avodat Yom HaKippurim, chapter 4, said the Kohen Gadol takes a full handful, neither smoothed over nor overflowing, but full without spilling. Nishpach Adam, Rambam Hilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 1. We explain situations that unavoidable, that sometimes the blood was spilled. So we explain, just for those who came a little late, that there are four stages in the process. Can someone help me with the 4 stages? Let's review it. We have number 1, the animal, stand before the us. And then you have the shchita, the first stage, which is touching the neck of the animal, and you see the blood coming out, but that blood carries no meaning because it's chatach, it's just cut. Like you have, God forbid for anyone, cut something, you see a little, you take a little band, you put it, and it's over. Then you have the second part, it's called dama nefesh. Dama nefesh is the blood of the living part of the animal. That's the key part that the Kohen needs to take from the neck and place it directly on the kli sharet, on the vessel, the sacred vessel that used specifically in Beit HaMikdash. We have another part that it's called dama tamtzit. Is a blood that's not in use, that is a subsequent side blood that come out, not the essence of the living creature, the living animal. And we explained that in the 4 stages, it's basically the first part that is the slaughtering, the second part is the receiving it in the vessel, and then the carrying it, and then sprinkle the blood on the altar. So we explained when you have these 4 stages, if somehow returns the blood spit on the floor, and we said if that happened before the Kohen collected in the kli sharet, that blood is disqualified. Why it's disqualified? Because the Torah requires a certain decorum, a certain process that needs to take place. However, if after the fact, b'diavad, he already took it with that vessel, and at that stage something happened, who knows what, he tripped or whatever it is, and the blood spilled on the floor, he can pick it up and use it because it's already, the key process took place. So with that in mind, let's see the Rambam. The Rambam put it together and he said in Hilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 1, Nishpach HaBalad, if the blood of an offering spilled onto the floor from the vessel and was subsequently collected, the offering is valid. Conversely, if it spilled onto the floor from the neck of the animal and was collected into a vessel from there, the offering is disqualified. Midama nefesh, we discussed several times the blood of the soul. So that's the Rambam Hilchot Psulei HaMukdashim, chapter 1. If some of the blood from the neck of the animal spilled, so that not all of the blood was collected in a vessel, the rite is valid provided that the collected blood was the so-called blood of the soul, not blood squeezed from it after the initial spart concluded, or the blood that bled from the skin. As we said, that's just chatach, just a little blood that come out of the skin. The halacha is according with the Braita, cite here, And apparently the Rambam maintains that although all the blood must be collected lechatchila, this is not an indispensable requirement of the rites. And as we said, that b'diavad, if it's later on in the process, it's fine. Kabbalat kol adam, Rambam, Ilchot Maaseh HaKorbanot, chapter 4. The Kohen must intend to collect all of the sacrificial animal blood in a vessel. So again, that's a very sensitive part of the study, that a Kohen we require. Remember when we study Ilchot Shabbat, we talk a lot about machshava. The Kohen has to have in his mind a clear mindset what's involved here, and part of that is to collect the whole blood to the vessel, not in part. We also discuss Ktoret, the incense. So that's Rambam, Ilchot Avodat Yom Kippurim, chapter 5. The incense scattered. Incense that scattered from the hands of the Kohen Gadol. As you remember, we tried to juxtapose the two situations between the offering and the incense. So if the incense that is scattered from the hand of the Kohen Gadol and was then collected should not be burned. But if it was burned, b'diavad, it is valid. As the Gemarrah did not rule definitely on this issue, so we said b'diavad, after the fact, is valid. Machshava b'chafina, the taking of the handful of incense is a rite of the Beit HaMikdash and is invalidates by inappropriate thoughts, which means if you have the intention to burn it after its appropriate time or in an improper place, so that's make it pagul, pagul meaning it's invalidated. Chishav bechatiyat gechalim, Rambam, Hilchot Avodat Yom Kippurim, chapter 5. If the Kohen, he thought during the taking of the coals, if the Kohen had inappropriate thoughts while ranking the coals for the incense, so the rite is disqualified, as action facilitating an offering are considered like the offering itself. And the Kesef Mishnah, and Lechem Mishnah, the commentary on the Rambam, elaborate on the importance of the clear thought and focusing on that. I think the key word is the focusing. Last halacha of today, Rambam, Sefer Avodah, Ilchot Maaseh HaKorbanot, chapter 6. Regel shel yamin bismol, the right leg in his left hand. When the parts of the daily offering are carried to the ramp, the right leg is carried in the Kohen's left hand, with the place of the slaughter facing the Kohen. And in Mitzvah, the next session, we will talk also about those who make the offering invalid, which means those who are unfit to serve, like someone who's not a Kohen, someone who's a mourner on the first day of mourning, or a drunk Kohen, etc., a blemish. All of these cases, that will be the subject in Mitzvah for tomorrow, the next session.
ציר מי שלא יוכל אני